Hi, I'm Anita Jackson from Holistic Health and Wellbeing. I'm an energy healer and a life coach, and I'm here to talk to you about 5 ways to cultivate confidence. What is confidence? Where does it come from? How do we get it? Well, to start with, confidence is a feeling state. It's not an emotion, it's a bunch of emotions. And today's all about understanding, am I in real confidence or am I in pretend confidence? And I want to really explain this to you because I understand how energy works. And it's all just about contrast. We've got an upward spiral of emotions and a downward spiral of emotions. So let me just grab a little chart that'll help explain that to you. And so when I talk about, is your confidence real or is it pretend? It's not that you're pretending consciously, it's just that you're in the wrong energy. So you might have a really positive mindset, but the actual energy that you're running on doesn't match. It's negative energy that you're running on, even though you're thinking positively. Or you might actually know that you're pretending it because you've got self-doubt. You might not be feeling good enough, and yet I suppose we get conditioned, don't we, to appear confident, to not appear vulnerable. And we might know that our inner world isn't positive. And I did it, like I chronically fatigued myself at 36. I'm 50 now, so I've learned a lot since then. And, I remember smiling on the outside, dying on the inside. And I was using energy with that smile and that confidence that I didn't have. And it was because I was running on adrenaline and stress. And this is very, very common in our everyday life. Stress is almost acceptable, but it's not. And you really, your energy is the barometer of your health. So if you're finding that you're running on lots of bravado, and that is adrenaline, and that means you're running on cellular energy. And I'd like to help you to understand how to run on life force energy, positive emotions, and then you're cultivating your confidence. So let's just have a little look at the emotional spiral and help understand what I mean by real confidence and pretend confidence. Okay, so here's the spiral, and we have downward spirals of emotions, which are negative emotions, and then we have upward spiral of emotions, positive emotions. And in the downward spiral of emotions, you're probably familiar with flight, fright, freeze. And depending on what kind of pattern you're in and what your energy is like, you might relate to some of these things. So if you're in flight, that's the most common kind of confidence that we see. And that's just that buzz of running on overwhelm and stress and fear of disappointing, worry and doubt. That's the kind of drama we create and the kind of negative energy that we're running on. That's a real flurry. And women are classic for running around on overwhelm. If you've got children and you're running to school and you've got, lots of jobs to do and things like that, it's very normal. But it's not normal, it's not good, which is what we're talking about. In the fight area, that tends to be if you're a bit reactive and easily triggered. Potentially you might have been wounded or hurt. These things happen in life, childhood. And, if you're really reactive, then you're in a drama of controlling, avoiding your wounds, and therefore you might be a bit rah, bite people's heads off, push them away. And that's simply, again, another sign that you're running on negative energy. Now, the freeze area is not a nice place to be. And a lot of the time, a woman will run on adrenaline, the superwoman, through her 20s and 30s, and she won't notice it. And men are the same. Men tend to have stronger adrenals, I think, because of the hunter-gatherer aspect of men. And so when you run on adrenaline, you eventually run out of adrenaline. And so when you start to go down into freeze, you really start to notice that you might be jumping between anxiety and depression. You might not be feeling good enough, wondering why you're insecure and jealous and comparing yourself to others. These are all signs of not good enough, but really the emotions in the freeze area under there are guilt and shame and insecurity. They're not, actually they're over this side, insecurity and guilt. And then over this side, if you're really, really low, that's where depression and fear. And so we can be running with a whole bunch of these patterns. And the classic sort of patterns that I see in women are perfectionists. That's generally the emotions of guilt, I'm not good enough, combined with flight patterns of fear of disappointing. And then also the pleaser. The pleaser also runs on guilt and also is a freeze pattern of not good enough. And because you don't feel good enough, you start pleasing and fixing and doing things to get connection. And then generally you worry again that you're going to disappoint people. So you can see that there's definitely some negative patterns in there. And if you can relate to any of that, that's just showing you that you're running on negative energy and you are pretending that you're okay and you are pretending that you're confident. And even though you might actually have some very accomplished skills and your mindset might be terrific, it's really important to start to ground yourself and to access the upward spiral of emotions. So that's actually the number one way to cultivate confidence, is to get your grounding right and to make sure you're running in the right energy. So let's just talk a little bit about what that means, and really how predominantly what we're doing is we're putting the cart before the horse. Is that, you know, we're really wanting to feel empowered and independence, and some of the things I've written over here: fulfilled, independent, confidence, worthiness, empowerment. We all want all that, and we can pretend that we've got it, and we can feel, as I said, I've met many accomplished women who's got all this, but in actual fact, they've just got the cart before the horse because their energy is negative. So we've really got to forget all that stuff, get the horse right, get you right, and then these things will follow, because they're a state, they're the way that you feel, they're an overriding energy. It really is. You know, whether you call confidence happiness and joy and passion and enthusiasm, well, you've got to get the horse right to feel those things. Okay, so just jumping into grounding and the difference between what I was saying before, being pretend energy when the cart's before the horse, and real energy, real confidence when the horse is balanced and grounded. And so how to get yourself grounded is simple. You've got to use your breath. And I'm going to run through a little exercise for you to understand how to do that. So for example, let's say you're heading to the gym, or you're heading to work, or you're heading to a business meeting, or you might be doing public speaking. Then it's really, really important that your energy is right. Like as I speak to you now, am I grounded? Am I being pretend, or am I being real? And hopefully you can tell I'm being real, confident, happy in my own skin, not needing to overexert, not getting too frenetic and too excited and pushing, you know, my agenda on you. So you can really tell the difference. And when you're around someone, you feel magnetically drawn to them if their energy's right. Otherwise, if they're OTT, over the top, then you'll feel yourself pulling away. It's almost like draining to be around someone who's running on lots of adrenaline. Other signs of running on adrenaline are talking too fast, not breathing between a little sentence and gabbling. And a lot of women I notice particularly talk very fast, and potentially that's come from childhood of not feeling seen, not feeling heard. And so because you don't feel that you don't feel good enough that that person's going to give you their attention, you're going a million miles an hour. And it might even be just that you're so charged up with adrenaline and cortisol that you're on such a buzz, just such a chemical rush, that you're needing to get rid of that energy, because technically your brain is not your eyes. And so if your brain is receiving short breath due to talking fast, a high heart rate, you're multi-skilling and just all over the place, then the brain actually thinks that you are in some kind of danger, flight, fright, freeze. And so what you do is you create this drama in your life in order to create energy, but it's not the kind of energy you want. And eventually it'll lead to a depletion, like I did, chronic fatigue, and I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, so back to how to ground yourself. And I'm just going to have a drink, just because it shows you that I'm not in any rush. Okay, so when you're on your way to the gym, a great little practice is just using continuous breathing. So if what I'm saying to you is that you're running on adrenaline, your eyes are not your brain, and even though you're in your car and you're not in a threatened situation, if you can just calm the farm, if you can just show your system that you're in control of your breath, then you're using your consciousness, you're using that free will you have to access this energy. Whereas if you're unconscious, you're like Sleeping Beauty, repeating the same patterns, running on the same energy, and yet there's no threat, then you really need to stop and just connect to your breath, particularly if you're having an anxiety attack or a panic, anything like that, just return to your breath. So what I'd like you just to connect to is just a very simple breath, and that is just breathing in 7 seconds and out 7 seconds. Let's just try that together now. And you might breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And when you're doing this, try to count the 7 seconds in and the 7 seconds out, because what that's doing is it's keeping your mind distracted. You're changing your focus, you're counting and you're breathing. And this is bringing you into the present moment, one of the points to cultivate real confidence. And so that's just a really simple, easy way. If you're sitting at your desk at work, if you've heard a negative thought that you're attaching negative emotions to, just go back to your breath, count, and that'll just help to draw you back into the present moment. So to really, really solidify this practice, we all drive and we've all got plenty of time in the car. Turn the radio off, get a little sticky note and just put on the dashboard of the car, continuous breathing or breathing practice. And what continuous breathing is just a practice of breathing in and out, in through the nose, out through the nose, and no pause. So let's try that together. And it's the duration of about 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out. So again, using your counting is going to distract your mind. And really what you're trying to do is hone your focus into that present moment. And if any thoughts are coming in, which is generally you haven't done this, you've got to do that, don't forget this, just put it on the back burner. You won't forget. You know, the big shift of getting out of your head and down into your heart is accessed via your breath. And just trust you have a brilliant brain. You'll remember anything that is important and just say to yourself, it will come to me. And if necessary, write it down and forget about it. So whether you've got a 5-minute drive, a 10-minute drive, a 30, 40, 50, 60, just use this continuous breathing. And what you'll notice is that you'll start the practice and you'll breathe in and you'll breathe out and you'll be getting into a rhythm. And then all of a sudden you've just stopped doing it and you've paused and you'll find you've connected to a thought and you've just drifted off. And that's when you return back to your head, back to the busyness, back to that negative energy. And it's a great way to detect it, isn't it? Because, you know, we all have busy minds, and particularly women ruminate, overthink, and I think we have like 60,000 thoughts a day, 12,000 conversations with ourselves. Like, that's overwhelming just in its own right. So this is the beginning of a mindfulness practice. And you've really got to cultivate that place of no thought, no thing. And once you start to do that, what you're really doing is you're really accessing the presence that you truly are. And it's understanding that you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not your mind, you're not even your body. You're just consciousness in this body vehicle, having this experience. You're interfacing with life. So I really want you to access that present moment awareness and really come in to your heart space. Okay, so that's a great breathing practice for you to practice on the way to wherever you're going, particularly the gym, so that you arrive grounded and in the right energy. Because again, the big difference between those two forms of energy, adrenaline energy and life force energy, bottom line is this one's ungrounded, unconscious, you're in your head, the ego's running the show. This one, you're grounded, your higher self's running the show, and you're in life force energy and you're operating from your heart. So you can see big contrast, positive, negative. And this is where we cultivate confidence. Okay, so thoughts. Thoughts are so vital. So we're creating a clear space so that we can now connect to a no thought, a nothingness, and that we can create thoughts. And we want to choose our thoughts really wisely, because thoughts create emotions at 250 miles an hour. That's like 1/50th of a second. You know, we're mere mortals to this energy field and the ability to create a thought, which creates energy. So you've really got to be careful what your thoughts are and what you're thinking. So I've got a great little mantra for you to use. It's just going to help you reframe any negativity. And it's amazing when you actually repeat a mantra And it's really useful to repeat something that resonates with you, because your brain gets to know that. Just like Roger Federer is a great tennis player. You know, how does he hit that ball down the line? He doesn't think. He's in his flow state. He's repeated it often enough that he's programmed that in. So when it comes to a great little mantra, this is the one I want you to use. Let's say you're on the gym floor and that negative Nelly voice is in your head, that monkey mind, and she's going, oh, you can't do this, you're puffed out, you're red, you look stupid, just really berating yourself. Don't connect to it. Just use this very simple mantra. This is simple, this is easy, this is fun. And then what you do is you say it 3 times, and you make sure that, because it's in your head, or you can say it out loud, I mean, particularly if you're on your own at home, but if you're working out or you're about to do some public speaking, anything that you're feeling negative and nervous about and ungrounded, using your breath, ground yourself, and then reframe. This is simple, this is easy, this is fun. This is simple, this is easy, this is fun. This is simple, this is easy, this is fun. And end on that positive note. And every time negative thoughts come in, go back to that mantra, drown it out. And before you know it, you're going to start to cultivate positive emotions attached to that positive statement. And generally the kind of emotion you're going to be creating is passion and enthusiasm. So when we look at where that is on the upward spiral, you're really starting to come up here. And so your vibration's going to go up, your energy's going to go up. You're going to feel fantastic and cultivate confidence. Okay, number 3. Number 3 to cultivate confidence is really about resilience and resolving conflict and drama, because you cannot be resilient until you're able to resolve conflict and catch yourself out creating drama. You know, the pleaser, the perfectionist, the rushing woman, the overwhelmed woman, the multitasking woman. These are all dramas that we create in order to get a buzz. You know, like people throw themselves off a bungee jump. That's to get a buzz, an adrenal junkie. Well, in a lot of respects, we're all adrenal junkies in different ways. And that's how we run on stress and adrenaline, and we're ungrounded, and therefore our confidence is not real. Right, so back to a little story that will help you understand this point of resolving conflict and resilience. So just imagine, I'm just giving you an example of real life and what happens to us. So let's just pretend we've got an experiment going of 2 Petri dishes. One of the Petri dishes is a pristine environment. It's just a medium that's going to be beautiful and tranquil and pristine. The other Petri dish is polluted and toxic. And imagine we've got 2 stem cells, and we're going to put this one stem cell in the perfect pristine environment and the other stem cell in the toxic environment. Which stem cell is going to thrive? Like, obviously we're going to say it's the pristine environment. But let me ask you this. Which one is real life? The pristine environment or the toxic environment? It's a toxic environment. And when you think about that, that's why you feel so fantastic on a holiday and you want to bottle it. It's the pristine environment. We all feel great. But then we come back to life and we start to unground ourselves. We start to rush, and we're back on that adrenaline rush, and then we're back on the pretending that we're okay. So you can see that you've got to be resilient to life. You've got to resolve unresolved conflict, whether it be childhood wounds or patterns and behaviours imprinted off your parents. If you're reactive and triggered, that these are necessary things that you need to work through in personal development. And I'd encourage you to come and sit in my chair. This is what I do as an energy healer and a life coach, that I'm going to hone in on your energy, understand where that wound has come from, help you to resolve it, give you tools so that you can walk away and put them into your everyday life and begin to feel resilient, to not be knocked about by life, to, in a way, I suppose it comes down to anxiety makes no difference to the outcome. But unless you're resilient, you're going to be reacting and repeating. And I just want you being present and observing. So again, there's that contrast, present and observing, reactive and repeating. Reactive and repeating is the downward spiral, ungrounded, negative energy. observing and witnessing and cultivating is the upward spiral. So again, you can see the messages. So number 1, grounding and breath. Number 2, your thoughts. Number 3, resilience, resolving, personal work, personal work. And don't be worried about that, because, whatever work you've got to do in your life and whatever you've got to, release, it's going to really evolve you and you're going to learn from it. We're here to learn. That's what life's all about. It's not about worrying about mistakes. It's seeing what those mistakes are here to teach you. And I can't speak more highly of that. It's an amazing process. So number 4, I think this is a great one for you, and it's really going to help you cultivate confidence. And it's something that I did when I was going through all these changes of coming out of the downward spiral into the upward spiral. And it's very simple. Are you living in fear or are you living in peace? And obviously one's downward spiral, one's upward spiral. If you're living in fear, you're living from your head. Your mind is in control. If you're living in peace, you're living from your heart. Your heart is in control, your higher self. And we all want to access that. We all want to be in our flow state. We want to be more intuitive and more connected and really know ourselves. And these are the ways that you get there. So a really simple little exercise is use your phone like the appointment setting and basically set 3 phone alarms. So one at first thing in the morning at breakfast, one middle of the day at lunch, and one in the evening at dinner time. And just simply put your name in there. And I always found I put my name there in shouty capitals because it got my attention. So I had Anita. Are you living in fear or peace? And then after that, I put choose, because it is a choice. Stress is a choice. What are you choosing? It's that simple. And you can ask yourself that question every time the alarm goes off. And the brilliance of that in that present moment, you'll start to detect, oh, actually, I feel stressed. I'm short of breath. I'm rushing around. I'm living in fear. And then another time you might go, wow, actually, I can really connect to this present moment. I feel great. And then you'll know that you're living the upward spiral and you're grounded. So great little exercise. So number 5 is really that imperative thing that we have to really train. And it sounds simple, but it's not always easy. Excuse me. Number 5 is basically that, asking yourself, am I living in my head or am I living in my heart? And it's a practice. It's absolutely a practice. And again, cultivating it through what we've talked about. Number 1, your breath and grounding. Number 2, your thoughts and reframing them. Number 3, resolving things, becoming resilient. Number 4, am I living in fear or peace? And number 5, am I living from my head or my heart? So these are 5 wonderful tips and well worth cultivating, well worth creating practices. And, I can't speak more highly enough of just the changes that you'll experience through these practices. And then when you're in life force energy, it's like solar panels. You just got this beautiful flow state. The energy, once you're connected to your grounding and the earth, and you're also connected to the universe, and the up and downward current, the kundalini currents, start to come through your body. And then your chakras, which are like energy portals, are like a sprinkler system that then sends this beautiful energy out around you. And I've got just this little ball that will help explain that to you. So when you're in the downward spiral, when you're living from your head and you're living in fear and running on stress, your energy field is collapsed on your body. And that's what makes you heavy and tired. And you have to pretend that you're okay, and you have to create pretend confidence. And yet underneath there is all those negative emotions and patterns that have been created unbeknownst to you because you've accidentally run on adrenaline, just like I did. Perfectionist, pleaser, yes girl. That all came from running on adrenaline. It's not even true that you're not enough. That comes from the distortion of running on adrenaline. So running on adrenaline and stress is really, really dangerous for your well-being and confidence and self-love. You can't love yourself if you're in the downward spiral running on adrenaline. Not possible. So when you start to open yourself up and you do the things that we've talked about today, your energy field will come out. It'll start to zoom around you, creating all this vortex of energy that you have full access to, and you step into your flow state and you'll know the difference. You'll know what real confidence feels like. So I hope you've enjoyed the talk today. I've really enjoyed connecting with you, and just enjoy the journey. And if you need any help, I'm here. Thanks for listening. Bye.